The crab is strapped down and pierced through the heart to drain its blue blood. And this is used to test medicines for contamination. If there are any dangerous bacteria inside, the crab blood will start to turn solid. But if nothing happens, it's safe to inject. Now, the crabs are released back into the ocean after their blood is taken, but over 500,000 of them are bled every year, and not all of them survive. Meaning, if you have ever gotten a shot, you might have their blood on your hands. If you drank an entire water tower of vodka, your liver would start to break it down, but it can only process about one standard drink per hour. And a water tower holds over 400,000 gallons. That would be over 39 million drinks. To break that down, your liver would have to work non-stop for more than 4,000 years. But to do it in one night, you would need a liver the size of about 50 blue whales. He was swimming in a lazy river when a piece of his goggles fell through a grate. They lifted it up and the boy swam down, but his legs slipped into the drain, and no amount of struggling could free it. Adults desperately tried to save him as he lost consciousness, but it took over 9 minutes to yank him loose. He had stopped breathing when he was rushed to the hospital, but after 11 days, he finally recovered. Dozens of leaflets dropped from the sky, telling him that World War II was over. But he thought it was a trick from the enemy meant to lure him out. So he stayed hidden in the jungle, living off coconuts and stolen rice. He watched planes fly overhead and thought Japan was still fighting, not realizing it was for a completely different war. Finally, 30 years later, his commander showed up and ordered him to stand down. The man saluted, handed over his rifle, and finally left the war that had ended 30 years prior. When the Titanic sank, over 1,500 people remained trapped inside, drowning with the ship as it went under. Now, you might think the bodies would still be in the wreck to this day, but over time, the freezing sea temperatures and pressure have destroyed most of the remains. And hungry sea creatures would have eaten anything else that's left over. But the engine room still remains sealed off, untouched by oxygen or sea creatures, meaning dead bodies might still remain there, undisturbed to this day. You stuck a long sword out of a car, aiming for a tree. The sword would obviously snap and rip from your hands. But what if the sword is unbreakable? You have an indestructible grip, and your body is physically immovable. Well, the force would then transfer to the car. It would screech to a halt as the sword hits. But what if the car can't stop and is forced to keep moving? Now the tree should split in half. But if the tree is indestructible too, with no way to break, bend, or stop, the energy has nowhere to escape. Would this unleash a massive shockwave as powerful as a nuclear explosion? Or worse, something reality itself isn't equipped to contain? She took the photo. A shotgun shell suddenly exploded from the camera. The pellets lodged themselves into the woman's leg, and the photographer was immediately arrested. Police questioned her and were shocked by her story. You see, her boyfriend had given her the camera, telling her to follow a jewel thief. He said it would take X-ray images, revealing the stolen gems. But the thief was actually the man's ex-wife, and she didn't steal any jewelry. The man was tracked down by police and killed in a shootout, and his ex-wife lost her leg to the injuries. His truck veered off the road and into a steep ravine before landing in a creek. Now, somehow the man survived, but he was severely injured and only managed to crawl 100 yards from the wreck. As night fell, he collapsed, exhausted, with only his dogs for company. But one of them left him, running 4 miles back to his family. It barked frantically to warn them that something was wrong. And the next morning, they finally found him. Rescuers pulled him to safety and he survived, all thanks to his loyal dog. The bullet was headed straight for the man's chest, but in his pocket, he actually had a Nokia phone. Now, these phones are notorious for their durability and strength. As the bullet made contact, it ended up hitting the phone, and while the force did shatter it, miraculously, it absorbed the impact and stopped the bullet before it could hit the man's chest, which ended up saving his life. The rock is strong enough to bench press a motorcycle at 6'4". But what if he was constantly growing? At 10 feet tall, he'd be strong enough to swap the motorcycle for a grand piano. As he hit 20 feet, he would need to grab an SUV if he wanted a good leg day. And as he grew to 30 feet, he would need to train an elephant to stand on his shoulders while he did squats.